You're currently working with Tyler Perry. How's that going? Tyler Perry sometimes gets a bad rap of how he runs his studios and stuff.
Yeah, and I had never worked with him up until this movie called Sisters in Italy, and I'm going to go blank on everybody's name, but that's the name of the movie. And I never worked with Tyler, and I had my own opinions about whatever. I hadn't really seen a lot of his stuff. I got to tell you, I am so impressed with Tyler Perry. I'm not saying that because,
right?
But honest to God, I never met anybody like Tyler Perry. I mean, I've worked with some so-called moguls, Spielberg, and just a lot of people who are giants in the industry. And there are people who have production companies and they produce movies or they direct movies or star in movies or whatever, and they're powerful people. But I ain't never met anybody who writes his movies, stars his movies, produces movies.
Got the studio.
Own the studio.
Is he behind the camera too?
I'm like, my God.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Smitty and D Show. Of course, I'm Tony D. And in the studio, guys, first off, let's start off where you may have seen him. You've seen him, obviously, in our beloved Ghostbusters. The Crow, the hand that rocks the cradle, Miss Congeniality, Oz, and of course Congo, guys. And he's also kind of my Michigan brother. I'm kind of excited about this. Welcome to the studio, guys. Ernie Hudson. Hello.
Hello.
You seem so here.
I hope I'm here because,
we just walked up some stairs. There's been some serious, we're trying to catch our breath right now, but
I'm okay, but I can wait for you to catch up.
Yeah, I was breathing kind of hard. Okay, so you're from Michigan. You're from Benton Harbor. What's that like? How much different is that from Detroit?
Not even close. Benton Harbor is a small town, about 35,000. When I was born in the 40s, it was pretty segregated. It's two cities, Benton Harbor, St. Joseph, Twin Cities. And then a lot of the blacks came up from the south to work the farms, and then they'd go back at the end of the summer, but a lot would stay up.
Yeah.
And then around the late 40s, people started moving into Benton Harbor. The jobs were pretty segregated, but they had some hard foundry jobs, not the factories or the better jobs. They were all white, but you could get the really hard labor in the foundries where you pour the iron and that sort of thing. Pick fruit. I went to the public schools in Benton Harbor. We were probably the first group of kids that was integrated into the school system, even though they said integrated, but most of the blacks were isolated to certain areas. But it was a different time. It changed a lot, up until the 60s when we had a few riots and disturbances, and then there was white flight, and then the city became predominantly black, which it is now. And, the jobs left. It was a very thriving town back in the 50s. And then, like so many places, St. Joe, the neighboring town, the other twin of the Twin Cities, it has remained healthy and but it was pretty much segregated up until to modern times. So it's
different.
It's a different.
How
town,
far is it from Detroit? Because I remember
directly across the state. If you just drew a line directly across the state, and then directly across from there, you hit Chicago. So you go around that little loop through Indiana, and you come back up through Michigan. But we're right on the lake, even though Benton Harbor is not on the lake. St. Joe is on the lake. Benton Harbor is a little inland, so.
But you spent some time in Detroit too, right?
Yes, I left. I graduated from high school.
You went to Wayne?
Went to the Marine Corps for a short time.
Yeah.
Came back. Was trying to find my way. Got married, did a few other things, and then we left. I think it was in '66. We left for Detroit. while in Detroit, I, discovered college and theater, and Detroit was an amazing city up until the riots hit in '68. Then things really,
Just went.
really went
You know,
south.
it's still kind of parts of it still kind of like that. Like when I was
Yeah.
growing up, we knew about the riot
Yeah.
because the evidence was still there, and
Yeah. You never really recover totally. When I came to Detroit, it was an amazing city, just thriving, and jobs were everywhere. And, on the hot days, you could leave your door open, and it was just a great place to be. People had a good sense of themselves, but the possibilities were amazing because the factories, were open and hiring. And then when the riots hit and the drugs came and the gangs and all that stuff, and people became very protective, and it was just a very, very different place. I discovered theater around '67, and Detroit had a lot of theaters. I got my equity card while I was in Detroit. But it was a wonderful place, but it was also a place that I knew it was, it was not meant to be a forever thing for me. And but I'm very thankful.
And you went to Wayne. Did you graduate from Wayne today?
I graduated from Wayne. Yeah, I went to Wayne.
And then you went to Yale drama.
And then I got a scholarship to Yale. Went to Yale for a year.
Yeah.
I left after the first year. It was not a good fit for me, but it was an experience.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
When's the last time you've been back
To
to Detroit?
Detroit. I try to go back every year. I haven't been back this year.
Okay, let me ask you. Do you have family there still?
No, not really. I have some friends.
Okay.
Friends I started theater with. Some of my earliest friends.
Yeah.
From that part of me, the college part of me on, my early days in theater. They're very different than my early days, in Benton Harbor. And so it's kind of two. College was really a life changer for me. I didn't really plan to go to college. I didn't think I'd go to college. But after getting in college and discovering theater, life really just took on a new, I had purpose.
Yeah.
I think up until then, I really wasn't really clear what I was going to do.
Let me ask you some questions about Detroit while you were there, or not really Detroit, but the men. So I grew up and men were a certain way and women were a certain way. And right now, what's happening in society is like women are saying, "Oh, we're expecting you guys to be like this," and men are saying, "We're expecting you guys to be like this." But do you remember how women were when you were growing up? Do you think that they were more feminine, or do you think because of the vicinity with Detroit and it being snow and cold and all that other stuff, they had to be a little bit more like tough? Were women tough or were they soft back then?
I think we were all probably a little tougher than we had to be, but we all knew we all knew we needed each other, and so there was an effort to be, soft. You know what I mean? You got to do what you got to do, but you also know that you have to present a certain way. I found women very much wanted to be, but women have always been sort of the backbone. I mean, I grew up, my grandmother raised me.
Yeah. I
had very strong aunts. But and we men, we tried to be what we thought women wanted, but
Were you
for me
raised?
personally, I think it was always kind of a game that you had to present. It wasn't so much what you were, but you had to present a certain way. You had to keep up that sort of facade. You had no money, but you had to, put on your best clothes. You had to borrow a car if you had to. You had to, you couldn't show up just being. I've learned over the years that I'm enjoying just being myself without considering what someone else is going to think about or whatever. So when I saw but from my perspective, women were softer. I don't really, but I'm a couple generations away.
Yeah.
I have sons who are 20 years younger than me. I have a grandson who's 20 years younger, and my second set of sons are 40 years younger than me. So I'm a couple generations away, and there are a lot of things that I personally don't understand. It seems a little foreign to me, but at the time, yeah. I'm not even sure if I answered your question.
You did. I think the biggest thing that I take away is Atlanta's like how Detroit used to be. But I think like sometimes people may think that Detroit women are a little bit tougher down here. And I feel like, I don't know. I think that's just how we were raised.
Yeah, I think it's just how it is. You know, I mean,
is.
you don't have to be tough when you got the support.
Yeah.
You know, people talk about wanting a man to be strong and do these things, or want society to be responsible and help you out when you need it. But when there's nobody there, you got to do what you have to do. And if the people in your life aren't, holding things up, then it's on you. And that's the unfortunate reality. And I think a lot of women have been put in that situation where, they got to do more than their fair share.
Why were you raised by your grandmother instead of your parents?
Well, my mother separated from her husband, moved to East St. Louis, and met my father. I don't know if they were divorced. I don't even know what the deal was back then. Met my father, and when she moved there was a lady who befriended her. The lady got sick. My mother stayed and took care of her. The lady had tuberculosis, which was the most contagious disease of that time, and one of the number one killer. And when the lady died, my mother found out that she had contracted tuberculosis, but she had also gotten pregnant with me.
Oof.
So, I don't know how far into her pregnancy, but she came up north. Her mom and her sisters had moved up north to Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
So she came up north to give birth to me. And 4 months after I was born, she died of tuberculosis.
Oh, my goodness.
So she had the disease the whole time she was carrying me. And it was kind of a miracle that I didn't contract the disease. But I was born. She moved up to her sister's house. Her sister and her husband. My grandmother was living there, and another one of my aunts. So they were living in this little place, and for whatever reason, the day I was born, everyone decided they had to go downtown to do something, and so my mother was there by herself, and gave birth to me. And when they came home, I was already there, and being the good country folk that they were, there was no point in calling the doctor because I was already there. So there was no record of my birth.
Oh, no.
Which months later or sometime later, I have no idea, they had a doctor come out, and he gave them a form to fill out, but they didn't realize they were supposed to send it to the state. So when I got ready to go to the Marine Corps, we had that form, but it hadn't been registered. My mother gave that to me, thinking it was my birth certificate, and I lost it somewhere in Detroit. And so then I had to go through a lot of changes just to be able to get my passport. But that's the story of poor black folk in America.
What did you? Because you said your grandmother raised you from.
Yeah.
What did you learn? What do you think that you've learned, or is there one thing that you can say? I got this from my grandmother.
I think my grandmother was an amazing lady. Even though I have a brother, I guess people say we're half brothers, even though I don't believe in halves.
Yeah, we don't do that. Yeah.
But who's 3 years older, and when he tells stories of my grandmother, I don't know the person he's talking about. because we grew up in the same house, but I'm
accurate.
like, yeah,
It's
no,
accurate.
yeah. My grandmother was amazing and loving and wise, and I always say there has never been a day in my life that I didn't believe beyond a shadow of a doubt that I was loved.
Are you the
know.
oldest?
No, I'm 3 years younger.
Oh, okay.
Who's always had to be the oldest.
Oh.
Because my brother was, he transitioned a couple of years ago, and we were always very, very close. But I was always having to make sure that he wasn't too deep into something he couldn't get himself out of. But yeah, my grandmother was very religious. I grew up in Church of God in Christ, and I got saved and sanctified, baptized, filled with the Holy Ghost. When I was about 3, tearing on the
You're about to be a
altar,
pastor. That's what this is about. You're about to be a whole pastor.
But she was very religious, but she was also very spiritual, and we would talk. We'd walk to church together, and we would just. And I think to this day, and if I'm going to get into something that doesn't feel right, I always have that feeling. How would I explain this to my grandmother? I would never want to embarrass her. When I was about 11 years old, she told me to wash dishes, and I was going to wash them. I just hadn't got around to it. So she went to church. She came back. The dishes were still there. She was upset, so she was going to whip me. And she went and got a belt. And she proceeded to whip me. But in my mind, I was thinking, usually when I get a whooping, I cry, and it's like so scary. But I wonder, how much does it really hurt? So I was like, okay, I'm going to get a whipping, so let me just see. So she hit me with the belt, and I thought, well, it hurt a little bit, but not that much. Then she hit me again, and she hit me again, and she was just wailing away, and I'm like, it's not so bad. And I was kind of looking at her, and she just out of breath. So I got her some water, and she just sat down. That's the last whooping I ever got.
How old were you?
So I was about 11,
Oh,
11 or
gosh.
12, somewhere in there. But I kind of regret that, because when she could no longer whip me, she would lay that guilt thing on me. So I'm like, just give me a whooping thing, So I always sort of think about my grandmother, and I think it's kept me out of a lot of weird situations because, she really believed in God, and her greatest gift to me was really convincing me very early that I was not alone, that God was my father. I know in church everybody says God is your father. In fact, I told her, I said, Mama, God is everybody's father. She said, but everybody don't know it, and I'm telling you so you know it, but don't think of God as just some man in the sky or whatever. God is with you. He knows you. It's personal, that you are his creation, and the universe would not be the universe without you. You are that important to all that is, and you can ask and expect an answer. God hears you, and if you listen, he'll guide you, and that has been my experience. That's where because I look back. I went to my hometown recently. They renamed the street that I grew up on after me, which was a very nice honor. But I was looking at all the little kids there, amazing kids, and they reminded me so much of myself. And I realized that there was nothing extraordinary about me that I should somehow expect to have an extraordinary life, other than God is my father. I wasn't like, I could sing a little bit, but I wasn't the best singer. I wasn't the best. I didn't play sports. But I knew that if I asked, it would be given, and I've always trusted that. And if I trusted God's guidance, I'd be in a situation, and I knew that it wasn't the place to be. I just knew in my heart, and I would always follow that. And I've had a lot of friends who are no longer with me or no longer here because they didn't have that sort of intuitive guidance. So But my grandmother was very, very clear, and just basic common sense stuff that I got from her. She was amazing. Now my brother, but I would go to church with her, and I'd carry a Bible. We'd walk because we didn't have a car, but we'd walk to church, and but my brother he loved the streets, from the time
I was just gonna ask you, how did you dodge that lifestyle? Because everybody was hustling back then. I know so many people that were.
Yeah, and this was sort of the beginning of hustling. When I was in the 40s, people were really kind of, really trying to, make a life.
Yeah.
And then before we all decided, being a gangster was really cool. There was, they had their little gangs and stuff, but nobody did much of any real damage. But my brother loved to party. We would go to bed at night, and he'd crawl out of the window and go to the party.
Gosh.
When we were in junior high school, and he'd go to church, and then as soon as he walked in, he'd go down the stairs out the back door. He was I loved to go pick fruit when I was pretty much up until high school, but he would never do that. Just certain things my brother wouldn't do. Just because, and he loved people. He always had a lot of friends. I always admired that. I was a little envious in some ways because people really liked my brother, and people. I was okay.
Do you think that you got into trouble because you told the truth? Because Sagittarius are known for telling the truth. Like, they can't lie.
Yeah, I don't like the idea. I mean, I don't want to say we all lie. I know I have my share of lying, but I don't like to think of myself as a liar. So I will really, if I'm lying, it's usually because I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, which is but I would want them to tell me the truth. So I keep telling myself, I'd want them to say they ain't coming to my party. Why can't I just say, no, I'm not coming.
I don't want to come.
I'll kind of go, well, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Yeah, no, I don't. I don't like liars, especially liars who will lie to manipulate. I've never felt, because of my faith in God, I've never felt I needed to manipulate the situation to meet somebody and then get them to do something. I've always believed that if I really prepare and train, that I'm bringing something to the table that you can't get anywhere else, and you're going to give me this job because you're selfish and you want to have the best job you can.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason you're paying me.
Yeah.
And if you find someone who can do what I do and better, then you should hire that person.
But you're in an industry where everybody's lying.
Yeah, but I don't know. I can't tell
How did you avoid that? Everyone's lying. Oh, I'm a producer.
Yeah, but I believe in God. I believe the universe will guide you. So I'm like, I ain't asking for nothing. So, yeah. So I had a professor in college when I was had an acting class, and he told me that really, really work hard on my craft because I wasn't so good looking that somebody's gonna give me a job because I'm good looking. I wasn't so funny that anybody's gonna give me a job because I'm so hilarious. I wasn't so friendly that anybody's gonna give me a job because I have friends in places, so the only reason for hiring me is because I bring something to the table that guy who you want to hire can't bring, and I need to let you know that. And I trust God will provide opportunities that I can't. The people who I've done the most for, the people who I've gone out of the way sometimes the most, have never really come through. It's usually somebody who I don't know will pick up a phone and say, hey, we saw this, or we want you here or there. I've never, I trust the universe, and I don't need to get someone to be my friend so that they can do something for me.
Got it. Next question for you. How do you feel now? You're 78. The internet is talking. Okay? They're saying Ernie Hudson is a sex symbol. He's got guns. Welcome to the gun show. How you feel about that?
Well, I don't. You know, when you say sex symbol, I don't really, because it's never really sort of been my career.
Mm.
I think if this is probably not a good analogy, but you know, when you're when you're in the second grade, and there's a girl that you really, really like a lot, and you kind of let her know that you like her, and she laughs at you because, you know, I mean, how dare you even think that she would consider you when cute Raymond over there,
not Raymond,
that, you know, that everybody, you know. So
not
I ain't never
Raymond.
been the cute guy, you know.
Not Raymond.
So and then now I'm 78, and she's smiling, sort of saying how cute I am, and I'm like, really? Really?
You about 60 years
yeah,
too
it's
late.
Like, too late. I'm sorry. It's like
I could care less now.
it's nice. I appreciate that, but you know, and as far as the industry is concerned, you know, did any money come with this? Because you know, the same arms I had all the time, ain't nobody noticed. I don't know.
It was the shirt.
It
It was
shirt.
the
You know,
shirt.
maybe I should have taken off.
It was
my
the
shirt.
Superman shoulders, guys. He's got guns over here.
So yeah, no, I've never allowed my weight to get too far, and now I need to go home and fast because I've been on the road for about a month, and I tend to eat badly. So, but I also know that sometimes you got to go. You just gotta.
Yeah, you
just gotta sit down and clean stuff out.
I'm fasting as we speak. You're currently working with Tyler Perry. How's that going? Tyler Perry sometimes gets a bad rap of how he runs his studios and stuff.
Yeah, you know, and I had never worked with him up until this movie called Sisters in Italy, and I'm going to go blank on everybody's name, so but that's the name of the movie. And I never worked with Tyler, and I had my own opinions about whatever. I hadn't really seen a lot of his stuff. I got to tell you, I am so impressed with Tyler Perry. I'm not saying that because,
right?
you know, but honest to God, I never met anybody like Tyler Perry. I mean, I've worked with some so-called moguls, you know, Spielberg, and just a lot of people who are giants in the industry. And there are people who have production companies and they produce movies or they direct movies or star in movies or whatever, and they're powerful people. But I ain't never met anybody who writes his movies, stars in his movies, produces movies.
Got the studio.
Own the studio.
Is he behind the camera too?
Behind, I mean, I'm like, my God. I went into Tyler Perry Studios, and I don't know, what is it, 300 acres or something? It's supposed to be the biggest studio. I mean, it's rolling hills. There's a lake. There's a golf course. There's houses. I'm like, first off, I would go nuts just knowing all that was somehow my responsibility.
Right.
And there are people out there watering the plants, and there are thousands of people working, and he's a young man.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm so impressed. And we were working, and he's laughing and having a good time, and I've never met anyone I've been more impressed with than Tyler Perry in my life. I'm talking about my life.
That's amazing.
I don't know what he does or how he does it. I have 2 houses, and just that alone is enough stress. And my wife takes care of all that, so I don't have to deal with it.
Right.
He's not even married.
Yeah.
So I know he has an amazing staff, but I mean, if I went to a studio and it was Microsoft Corporation, and I kind of go, okay, this corporation maintains all this stuff.
Right.
But honest, I don't know. Now, I might work with him again, and I might have a different opinion, but I had a great time working with him. He's, you know, he's really pleasant and kind to and all of these young people working and learning their craft, and I am really, really impressed with Tyler Perry, and that's. Like I said, it's the first time we worked together. So,
well, we live in Atlanta, and so you have lots of people saying crazy things online, and some people saying crazy things in person. But I think at the end of the day, you know, no one is doing it like him.
I don't know how you could. I couldn't do it.
It's so easy for us to point and say, "Oh, you should do this better," or "You should do that."
We're very good at that.
Yeah, but you're not you're watching.
Yeah,
from
no,
the sidelines.
I mean, just if you write a movie and get a movie made, or get several movies that you've written made, that's an extraordinary accomplishment.
Yeah.
If you direct movies and you've done 3, 4, 5 movies, that's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah.
This man is doing it all,
Yeah.
and he's been doing it for years.
Yeah.
And I'm,
Keno was in one of his movies, Medea's Family Reunion.
so
Shout out to Keno.
Yeah, I haven't seen his movies. I'm not, and I might see this movie and kind of go, oh. But we shot this movie in 4 days.
And I was going to tell you, he does not waste a day on one scene. You know how other movies.
No. And sometimes I like the detail we're trying with, but and I've worked most of the movies. I worked on movies 6 months. We had Ghostbusters. It took over 4 months for each of the movies, but and I get that we all the care. But what I realized and what it seemed to me that he doesn't second guess himself. Most people have a crew and then they kind of go, I think we're going to do this. What do you think? Well, no, maybe we should do it this way. And what do he's like, move it over here, put that there. We do this. I got it. Let's move on. It's like he is the ultimate voice. So it's like, and everybody's trying to figure out what he wants and be on point and follow his lead. So it's like he's making but he's not questioning himself.
Yeah.
And I tend to do that. I'm like, well, I think we'll do this. What do you is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Do you think? No, it was none of that. And I respect that because he said, I got it. Now, even for me to be sure, as an actor, when I do a scene, I feel pretty good, but I'm looking around because I'm not sure that we need to do it again. But no, I didn't get any of that in him, and he was
He's amazing.
knocking it out. Yeah.
He's amazing.
So I have a lot of admiration for Mr. Tyler Perry, more than I had a week ago before I met him.
You're a family man. You're a dad. You're a grandfather.
Yeah, I'm
Talk
a
about that.
great-grandfather.
You were married before. You're married again.
Yes.
The wife you have now, you love. She's amazing. She's great.
Yeah.
She's by your side. She's
Yeah.
supportive.
Yeah, I talked to my ex-wife a couple of days ago. I was with my son and my grandson who lives here in Atlanta, and he was talking to his mom. So we spent a long time talking, and I really value her and I appreciate her. We were kids.
Oh, that's wisdom. For you to say that, we were kids when we were back.
Oh, we were.
And you make a lot of mistakes.
Oh, we please. She was basically, I think we were 15. I was 18, turning 18. I was 17, about to turn 18. And she had a sort of rough relationship with her mom. Her mom didn't seem to like her a lot. I didn't understand that until I married her, and then I realized, that's
a lot of women.
That was kind of a joke, But so one day I was over there to her house, and her mother made her wash dishes, and she said it wasn't her turn. It was her sister's turn to wash dishes. So the next day I was over there, and the mother made her wash dishes again. And she said, but it's not my turn. It's Brunetta's turn to wash dishes. And the mother said, you get in there and wash dishes. And they had a little argument. And she said, your mother got up and you don't be saying. So she went in the kitchen, and she was crying, and she was throwing the pots around and saying, and I went in the kitchen to kind of,
soothe her, yeah.
And she said, see what she just treats me this way, and you see how she does me, it's not fair. And I said, man, this is awful, we getting married or something. She said, okay. And I said, she said, yeah, I want to get married. And she kind of dried the tears. She said, we can get married, and then we can do this, and I don't have to be here with her. And
oh my gosh.
So then I went home and I told my grandma that I was thinking about getting married. My grandma said, no, you go back and tell that girl, no, you ain't getting married. No, are you crazy? So the next day I went back and I said, about that marriage, maybe we should wait. And she said, no, you lied to me. And then she started crying. And I said, no, I didn't. She said, you lied to me just like my mother. You just treat me, everybody just said. So I said, oh, so we got married. And
There you
and
go.
there we were. And we, yeah. So it was, and then we got married. We didn't know anything about anything. So we got married. We went to the preacher's house, and her mother had to sign for her to marry because she was too young. And then we went to the preacher's house, and he married her. It was me, the preacher, my grandmother. And then we came back to my grandmother's house in the projects because I didn't have a place. So we stayed at my grandmother's house in the projects. She and my grandmother was the sweetest lady. She really helped people. A lot of women, when they were going through changes, she would always sort of take them in. My grandmother hated my wife.
Oh!
My wife hated her. And I was in the middle, and they all both wanted me to kind of take their side.
Yikes.
And it was finally after about 4 months, I had to move. It was not. I had never seen that side of my grandmother. It was like, but yeah.
But things are good now.
But we have two amazing sons.
Yeah.
And and I've always liked her, but she just was just so smart. She was smarter than me. It's not good to be with a woman smarter than you.
But most women are smart.
I know that's a problem. At least be kind about it.
Yeah.
But she would I couldn't win an argument.
Oh.
She should have been a lawyer because she was really. But she's having some health issues now, and it was great to talk to her, and I'm glad my sons are really, there for her in a way that I really, really appreciate.
Do you think you would have gotten married now, looking back? Would you have done it over the same way?
Well, I'd have to know more than I knew then. So you mean if I was
Probably
a little
not.
bit smarter?
Yeah, probably not.
Also, it's funny because I look back on it and I realized there was another thing going on. I had got to a point in the church where I really started to question a lot of the stuff that I was saying. My grandmother would see stuff and say, well, you can't look at that. The Lord, people do stuff and we have to look past it. I'm like, yeah, but it's kind of hard to look past what everybody knows, but ain't nobody calling them on it.
Yeah.
And just a lot and I was really having, and they were starting to expect me to do certain things. Also, my grandmother would say, baby, Mama getting older now, and and then I've started to feel like I was trapped. My wife, nobody liked.
Gosh.
And so marrying her got me out of that. And I know that a little bit of it had to do with me trying to sort of separate. I mean, it's not that, but I'm married now. I have to go with my wife. And it's sadly that I couldn't just say, no. So it was a lot going on. But we were married. We had 3 really good years. We're married 15. So
That's pretty good. I mean, they're saying marriages don't last past 7 now. 7 years.
We had 3 years. It should have been over. It should have been over in 6 months. I kept saying, is this okay? Because are you
Are you happy?
She said, well, she's crying. I'm like, you're always unhappy. And, well, you said, I love you, of course. I'm like, yeah, well, but, you're not very, like, is this really working for you? Because
it's not working for me.
So
how do you feel about that, staying in a marriage that doesn't work?
Well, you should, have the heart. But I grew up in church where, you only get one shot and, it's for life and whether you're happy or not. And finally, she went from the 9th grade to getting her PhD.
Oh.
Because she's brilliant. And she got a PhD from the University of Minnesota. But when she went to Minnesota, that's the year I went to Yale. But she had a great job. She was making a lot of money, by our standards. And I was still, struggling with trying to become an actor, and but she had a nice apartment and a car, and I didn't. So she ended up kicking me out, because so I think she had reached a point where I really had no, and once we split, my career just took off. it was weird. It was like the next day. It's like you got rid of her. Okay, now you want to come to. So it was that weird thing, and then I'm sure she regretted it after the fact, but I was really walking the streets of Minnesota. I'm like, I don't even, I got nowhere to go, and I can't go back there.
So where did you go?
I had auditioned for a play, The Great White Hope, at a theater called Theater in the Round. I met this guy there who was also auditioning, and he said, well, we can get together and rehearse. And so I called him and said, man, I'm like, he said, where you at? So he came over, picked me up, and I stayed at his place for 3 months while we did the play. And
wonder where he's at now.
He's dead now.
Oh, well.
But he was a good friend. He's one of my best friends, and wonderful actor, and we did a lot of stuff together. But he let me sleep on his couch, and every time I thought about, maybe I did marry, and maybe I should go back. Something would, I would say, God, if I'm meant to go back, and then something blaring would happen, to go, no, don't.
Were you married to her when you got the role in Ghostbusters?
Oh no, God, no. We split up in 70.
Oh, this is a long time ago.
Yeah, 70 something. I stayed. When I said married 15 years, we were just legally married for that long.
Okay,
got it. And then she, when she got a PhD, she
was like,
came
bye.
out to L.A. and tried to sort of make amends, but it was like, no, it was, that wasn't meant to be.
Love it.
Yeah, so.
Anyway. All right, Mr. Ernie Hudson, we're done with the first part of the interview. Are you ready for the next part of the interview?
Sure, yeah. I don't know if I got to your questions. I have long answers, by the way.
You are quite okay. I'm just happy you're here. Well. All right, so Ernie Hudson from Benton Harbor, Michigan, my Michigan brother. Are you ready for random questions?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. It's a biopic of you. Who's playing you? Oh, wait. Let me give you the rules. Okay. I got to go back. Sorry. I'm slow. Okay. The questions are rapid fire. They're going to come at you. Answer as quickly as you possibly can. If you have a good story, funny story, sad story, definitely do tell. But other than that, straight to the point.
Okay.
But before I get to the biopic, let me ask you this first question. What trend do you want to see go away? What is something that you're tired of seeing it?
Well, one trend I'm tired of seeing is just this insane politics. Insane, straight up.
What do you mean?
Straight up lying, straight up. You can say anything you want. It should be some kind of like in proof in the advertising, something. Where if you say that, you got to be based on something. They're talking about what is the vetting answers, or making sure that what they say is true. Well, before they can advertise, it should be. We need to know that what you're saying is true. They just make up stuff just straight out of, dirty politics is.
But they were weird that there's people that are not smart enough to know that they're making it up.
Yeah, what people want to believe.
Yeah.
When you want to believe something, you just, and you know better. It's not true, but you still. And then the other side feel like they have to do something just as, whatever. And so now we're all sort of fighting. And it's hard, I have 3 sons, and one son feels very differently than I do and I don't understand. I just don't understand. I spent a lot of money for this boy to get an education. And I'm like, what the hell? And it's personal because it's my son, and I don't want to think a certain way, but I'm like, if you feel that way, I don't know how. That's hard, and it's unfortunate. I think it separates a lot of families. It's just.
It's scary.
It's awful.
It's scary. All right, so the biopic. Who do you want to play you? What actor that's out there would be a good Ernie Hudson? And then who would play your grandmother?
Oh, geez. I don't know. Felicia Rashad would be a great grandmother.
Ooh.
Now she's older. Now she's. I think she'd be very She'd be very good. But who would play me? I don't really have a good sense of me, so I have no idea what I.
Well, let's go with strong.
Yeah.
You got strong features, strong shoulders, strong brown skin, big hair. Who's
Oh.
out there that has all that? I mean, Idris Elba could possibly play you too.
Hell, he's old as I am. It's like,
You heard that,
age?
Idris?
By the time I get to his age, I can play myself. It's like, jeez.
Who's younger? What about what's the guy who was in the news for hitting the late Megan Good?
Oh, Megan.
The
Yeah.
guy that-
No.
not him?
Yeah, no. No.
no.
I have respect for the brother, but no.
Who's Anthony Mackie? That's another black actor.
Anthony's.
He's not bad.
I don't know a lot of actors. Sadly, I don't really watch a lot of TV and film. That's.
There's some English actors too that could probably play
Yeah,
you.
some good actors out there.
yeah.
Honestly, I really wouldn't, because they never really get when they have like the younger me or something, and they'll pick somebody. I'm like, oh, really? Is that
What you think I look like?
Yeah, is that nobody ever really sort of. Even when they get a double, they would get to do some of the stunts, and they always get somebody who's in worse shape than I am. I'm like, really? It's like. But yeah, so I don't.
You don't know who you would play?
I don't know who would, but I'm sure.
They'll find somebody.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
They got to find someone with guns and shoulders, guys. Yeah. And a full head of hair. Do you hear me? Got a whole full head of hair. I don't know if that's a Michigan thing, but I know so many people from Michigan that have full head of hair.
Yeah.
But people down here, not so much.
That's interesting, because when I was a kid, I don't remember many people that didn't have
hair.
hair. Yeah,
Right.
hair was like,
Normal.
yeah. Maybe you would think I would have noticed that. But,
Yeah. But everybody's going bald here, and everybody's got beards.
Yeah, beards are kind of.
It's popping.
Yeah, I mean, the mustache. Every time I cut it off, people go, "Oh my God, you cut your mustache off!" Don't come outside until you grow it back.
You're like my dad. My dad, I used to tell him he was like the fourth member of the Whispers. He had this thick mustache, and we're just walking around singing Whisper songs. He's like, "Stop it."
Yeah.
All right, next question. If you had your choice, TV, theater, or movies, what's
Theater, if they all pay the same.
Ooh, why?
I love theater. I love, connecting with the audience. I love working with the actors over a period of time and finding those nuances and just stepping on stage and seeing what happened. And it's sort of a living thing. But unfortunately, it doesn't pay the money that film and television pays.
Accurate. What's your favorite play that you've been in? What's the most impactful?
The Great White Hope.
The Great White.
Great White Hope. It was life-changing. It changed my life, literally.
How?
My marriage had ended. I had no place to stay, that we discussed earlier. Sleeping on a friend's couch, and I just thought, I've been doing this. I was 30 years old, just turned 30. I've been working so hard in this theater thing. I had no money, and I just thought, I'm going to put everything I can into this role. And I trained, like a boxer, to be a fighter, because in the play he is a fighter. And when the play opened, there's a scene where I'm sparring and I'm kind of flexing, and I heard this scream throughout the audience, and I thought something had happened, like something, maybe something, and it was actually the women in the audience let out a little scream. So every night it was this moment into play. I saw myself as a star. The reviews were incredible. It was like, and the marriage had ended.
Yeah.
So all that sort of came together, and suddenly I became an actor. I became an actor doing that play. But it took everything that I had to do that role. Every emotion, it was all, when I did the play, everything was all out there. By the time I finished the play, I was depleted. And it's the best thing I ever done, ever in my career.
Are you ever concerned about doing shooting scenes, knowing what happened to Brandon?
Yeah, I'm concerned about people who handle the armory, the guns, because I think a lot of times people are irresponsible, like with Alec Baldwin in that situation. I think for on family business, where there's a way to, you can do things you can do in post-production. You don't have to have, but they can be dangerous. And when you say concern, I'm not overly concerned. I think that, but I think you do have to have responsible people.
Yeah.
And I think it's a responsibility of a production company. Nobody should get hurt making a movie.
Yeah, Brandon Lee, that was, that was.
No, we were doing The Crow, and it was.
I remember that.
Shocking, and it's still, it still upsets me. He was so talented and such a wonderful human being, and then suddenly he was gone, and that's just lets you know how delicate life is.
Yeah.
We take for granted sometimes that we're always going to be around, and at any moment it was shocking what happened.
What role could you have played? If there's a role that you saw, like a movie, TV show, or play, and you're like, hey, how come they didn't call me? I could have played that.
Well, I think that probably happens a lot. I always think the role probably goes to whoever, is best for it. As I get older now, that when you're younger, I'm thinking I can do every role.
Yeah. Was there a role that you really, really thought you could have done probably better than the original actor that played it? Or something
Well, Shonda Rhimes, when she was doing Grey's Anatomy, it was called the Shonda Rhimes Project. I just did a series called 10/8 for ABC, and I went in to audition for her, and we had a great meeting. And I thought the role was pretty much mine based on the meeting. But then I got a call back saying they wanted me to come in and read for the part. And I thought about it. I thought, well, I already met her. She knows my work. I just did a series for ABC. Why am I reading? So I just, I didn't read. I refused to read. Now the show's in its 22nd year.
Grey's Anatomy.
I heard the salaries that Bill Pickens is doing the role. He's been doing it for 22 years, and I think about all the houses I could have bought and all the hungry children that could have been fed if I had just
read
gone
again.
in. And now I might have read and not got the part anyway, but
I could see you getting.
I really kind of. But you never know about those things. And then Family Matters, I didn't read for that.
For Carl Winslow?
Yeah, for Carl.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and but I just couldn't.
You could have been Carl Winslow.
Yeah.
And work
well,
with.
I because it was just a pilot. You didn't know what it was going to be. And then after it started to run, I thought, well, maybe I kind of. But that one I didn't regret as much because I thought, I don't know if I'd want to do that. But Grey's Anatomy is a different story. It might be.
I think it's going to come full circle. What director have you worked with and you're like, this one understands me? Like he can motivate me or her, get me to do what I need to do. Like what director do you think you worked best with?
Well, there's a director who directed The Great White Hope. His name was Curtis Hanson, and he was the best director I ever worked with. I mean, he was amazing. He just was if he said something, he saw it. He thought about it. It wasn't just some directors just talk stuff or they think kind of, and then it just sometimes it can be more confusing than not. And sometimes you just don't trust them. They're asking you to do stuff, but I'm like, I'm going to be seen. They ain't going to see you, and I'm going to look stupid. But he was really pretty amazing. And maybe Tyler Perry. We'll see how this movie comes out. Maybe we'll
shout out
see.
to Tyler.
Shout out to Tyler. We'll see how this movie comes out. But there's some wonderful directors out there. But there is a connection, between when you work with someone, but you really got to trust the director. Otherwise, you just, I know how to save myself. So I'm like, okay, I see what's going on here. I'm going to just do what I got to do. but it's nice to be in a collaboration with someone.
Yeah. What's the best advice you think you've ever gotten or given?
I was working with a young black director. Can't think of her name because at my age I don't remember anybody's name. But and she asked me something about the industry, and I didn't really think about it, but I said they will never offer you anything more than you already have. So don't trade the most valuable part of you for anything this industry has to offer. And I think that's true. I think the industry is very seductive, and a lot of times people are asked to compromise themselves, and you know it's a compromise, but you think it's just a little bit, and then it's a little bit, and then you're living a life that you're not. You're in some situation that that you can't get out. Once you've been down that street, you can't get back. I've always had kids, so they've always been my sort of barometer, that I'm like, if I don't want my kids here, I don't want to be here. Yeah. So I got to go home. Some people say my career has never really took off because I was a single dad. I gotta get home. I gotta see about the kids. I gotta, I'm always aware that they're aware. But I do think you really need the most sacred part of yourself you have to hold on to.
P. Diddy, all these celebrities are in the news. I'm sure you've heard about it.
Yeah, no, everybody's, I'm sure,
Have you experienced, is some of this, can you see this being true? Can you see, because you're on the other side, you're a celebrity.
Yeah,
you go to the parties.
I think maybe because of my arms, people talk about my arms, and my shoulders or whatever, or the way I can look at somebody. I mean, I have a way, I always could do it with my kids. I have a way of looking at them that just go,
don't try it.
That ain't a good idea. With directors, you have to do that too. A lot of people in the industry, when I'm working with somebody, I'm like, you know what, you might do that with somebody else, but we're not playing that, And I go back to being in Benton Harbor, and I think, man, please.
You and Molly Whopper.
Yeah, so I can't imagine me being in a physical altercation, but they don't know that. So
that's a negative on those parties, huh?
I think people know who to invite.
Yeah. Oh.
And I always kind of go, well, when I first came out to Hollywood, I did some movies I did a movie called The Human Tornado with Rudy Ray Moore, and Penitentiary 2 I was doing some of those black exploitation movies, and it was some pretty wild parties. But I would be at a party, and I had friends who would come up to me and say, "Hey, Ernie, you might want to leave now." And I go, "Really? What?" And they say, "No, you might want to leave." And I would always leave. And then I find out later there was some weird stuff going on and people whatever, and I'm like, so I always had people who kind of looked out for me, especially back in the day, and people would just kind of, pull my coat. Now, if I had ignored that and stayed till the midnight hour, but
and you could be having a lawsuit against you.
I've never, and then I also found. I don't like to sort of insert myself. I was doing a movie called Weeds in North Carolina many years ago, and I think I'm friendly, but everybody would sort of get together and go to lunch, and they never would invite me. And I was like, I wonder, so one day I said, "Hey, wait, you guys going to lunch?" They said, "Yeah." I said, "Oh, well, I'll come along." So I invited myself. And then I got in the car, and they pull out every drug you can imagine. And I'm sitting there, and I can't, first off, I don't want to do it, but I definitely can't work. We're just going to lunch. We got to come back and work. And so I was like, no, thank you. But I know I'm ruining their high. So I go, no, if I'm not invited, leave it alone.
Right.
I've heard stories of things going on the Ghostbusters set. I'm like, you know what? I was there. I ain't seen nothing. So but they didn't invite me in the back room. So
I feel like you were protected. But do you think that a lot, because just talking a little bit about Bill Cosby, and I was watching a documentary about the Playboy Mansion and Jim Brown and, just all those folks. Was drugs rampant back then as far as like Quaaludes and stuff?
yeah, I'm sure it was. But then again, because people will ask you, say, Ernie, you get high? You like to get high, man? And I just don't, because not that I think I just, I remember I tried smoking weed, and it would always make me really paranoid. But I had some weed, and my boys, I was a single dad. They found it, and they flushed it down the toilet. And I came home, and it was like, what the hell is that? And they go, oh, Dad, and he was crying. I'm like, well, you did what? And I was going off, and they said, well, you wouldn't want us doing it, Dad. And then I thought, well, that's true. So, but I just never really could get to that place where I tried Coke years ago when they said Coke, you can't get addicted to Coke. And two things happened. My wife was saying she would kind of go off if she saw me trying to do it. So I would go in the bathroom and shut the door, but I was sort of lining it up, and I happened to look up in the mirror, caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror, and I'm like, oh, hell no, I'm not. That was it there. Wow. And then I had a friend who was a producer friend. She's no longer with us for many reasons, but she was trying to show me how to freebase.
Oh boy!
And
that's old school, right
just transformed in front of my eyes. I'm like, whoa! I'm like, I will never do that. So everyone, something. If your eyes are open, you will see stuff that could easily be missed, but it's there, and so I would go, nope, I won't be doing that. And the same way, not just in terms of that, but even in terms of your health. When you see somebody and they got diabetes, or they're on dialysis, or they getting toes or feet cut off, or whatever, and you go, if there's any way I can avoid that, I'm certain things you just don't want to go down. And now if you happen to be there, but a lot of stuff we can really avoid, and the signs are all over the place. Just have to pay attention. I think I've always paid attention.
Yeah. I think you've been blessed and kind of like led by God here. All right, we're going to do some name association. These are all people that you've worked with.
Oh, okay.
So this should be easy. I'm going to give you the name. You tell me what you think, or you can give me a word. If you have a story, please do.
Okay.
Denzel Washington.
I like Denzel. We've been friends for a long time. We did a series together, St. Elsewhere.
I love St. Elsewhere.
And he played my doctor. I did, I think, 8 episodes. But otherwise, we never really worked together. But I have a huge respect. He's an amazing actor, and that's God bless him. And
what about Brandon Lee? I know we talked a little bit about
Brandon. I love Brandon. He was I knew him for about 8 years before we did the movie. Always just a very, very special young man, and very tragic that he's not with us.
Viola Davis.
I never worked with her, but I love her. I love that her.
Maybe I'm putting that on the universe. Maybe you will.
I love that she's allows herself to be herself.
Yes.
When I started out, we felt we had to change our image. We had to, people trying to get lighter skin or curlier hair or, something other than what you were. And I'm glad things have changed now, because a lot of the images we see weren't allowed 30 years ago.
Wow.
Literally, if you looked a certain way, you ain't going to get hired. So there's going to be one Denzel, and that's it. And but that's changed. But I love Viola because she's absolutely fabulous and beautiful, and an inspiration.
We love her. Morgan Freeman.
Morgan, I keep thinking, when is he gonna stop working so I can get some of those parts? My God, how old is he? Jeez.
You definitely have the voice for God.
You know, yeah. No, Morgan's he's a wonderful actor and an amazing career. And damn, sit down, Morgan. You know, and but I hope he. One of the nice things about this business is there's no age limit, and so as long as he can do it, keep doing it, and God bless him.
Whoopi Goldberg.
Whoopi, in this movie, actually, I'm playing an old lover of hers. I played a boyfriend of hers in a pilot for a series. I've known her for a while. I love Whoopi. She's genuine and amazing and very, very talented, and
very
nothing
funny.
but love for Whoopi.
Sigourney Weaver.
I love Sigourney. She's always been down to earth. She's always been herself. We were actually at Yale at the same time. I didn't really know her at that time, but what I love about her in Ghostbusters is she's always been gracious and inclusive. Because, a lot of times people, you're part of the team, but you ain't a part of the team. But Sigourney has always been just very, very sweet. Very, very sweet lady. I'd love to actually do something with her.
Yeah.
Before she gets too old and they, have to go with somebody.
I heard that.
I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I love the way she's wonderful.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Bill Murray.
Billy is
You call him Billy.
yeah. Bill Murray is first day on the set, he offered his friendship in a real way. Everybody was nice, but he's always been solid. He's the only actor that I know who said to the studios when they were offering him a lot of money, the only way he would do Ghostbusters if I was in it. That doesn't happen very much in Hollywood, and he's always been just a funny guy, straight up guy.
So let me understand this. He said he would not do this movie unless you were in it?
Yeah, unless Ernie Hudson's in it, so
Wow.
that was because, and especially in the first two, I was probably not an absolutely had to have. Now it's Winston has become a billionaire, and I think I'm a little bit more tied to the franchise in terms of it would be helpful to have me in it.
Yeah.
But those first two was really Bill Murray was the driving engine.
Yeah.
I just have just a lot of respect for crazy talented. I mean, the stuff that kind of comes out of the way he processes, it's amazing. Always a learning experience, sort of working with him. But he has I love the fact that he has a freedom that I've never had. Some people just do what they want to do, and there's just in the whole world opens up to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm kind of I got to read the signs.
You got to get invited.
I gotta get invited. I gotta, present a certain way.
Yeah.
I gotta, certain things I'm aware of. At least I think I have to do that. But I love when people just stroll through, when the water's part, and that's God bless.
Regina King.
Yeah, I've worked with Regina on Miss Congeniality, and she's crazy talented. Beautiful to see her mature and, get into directing and producing. I've always admired friends who make that next step. I've never felt I've got the acting thing down enough yet to where, or maybe I just never really loved the business that much. I love working in the industry, but it's not my life. You know what I mean? I don't want to eat, sleep. When they say rap, I want to go home. I want to be with my kids. So, but I really, I just think she's very beautiful, and I love the way she takes care of herself. I've never seen her not fit. She always looks like she's
she's always been
stunning.
fit.
She glows, and So just,
and now she's directing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I love the fact
amazing.
that she sort of moved to that next place, not just directing, but really directing. And she's amazing. I love her.
Last two, Lawrence Fishburne and Forrest Whitaker.
Okay, well, first we dealt with all the people that I really, really like. Now let's see. Lawrence Fishburne. I've known Lawrence for a long time, kind of. I don't really know him. We never really worked together. I like his work. I'm trying to think of something. If he can't say nothing nice, no. I do like Lawrence. I like his work. I don't really know him well enough to really
Have an opinion.
Have an opinion about. He's good. He's a good working actor, and I consider the two of us probably sort of. But he's much younger than I am. I don't know how old he is, but I'm sure.
I think he's in his 60s.
Yeah, I'm sure he's probably no, I got nothing bad to say about him. His work is always stellar. So,
and then Forrest
Whitaker is, he's good. He's a wonderful actor, and he's a wonderful actor, and I almost want to say something that it just. He's a wonderful actor, and he's an inspiration. Mm-hmm. He was helpful because he's shown that you can really succeed and not have a certain Hollywood look. He's kind of
and the eye thing too.
Yeah. No,
I'm a big fan.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of his. Forrest is the kind of guy that. When I was a kid and I liked a girl and she didn't choose me, but she chose Forrest. Oh. And I'm like, really?
Because he's a smooth talker,
I know. He's going
to convince you.
I'm sure there's something going on there, but I ain't saying it. It's like.
He's going to convince you.
Yeah, so no disrespect for us.
Yeah.
Because he is brilliant. But, I've yeah.
All right.
So many of those guys, started years after I did. I've been doing this a while, but there's some really talented people out there. So I don't take anything away from anybody.
Oh, we thank you for even laying down the foundation. Last question, or better yet, second to last question. What's something that we don't know about you already? Is there a little secret you want to tell us? I know you say you don't work out as much as people think you do.
No, I don't. I never really, gotten much into working out. As I've gotten older, and Mr. Jiggles, which is that little, came to live with
There's
me.
no Mr. Jiggles, guys.
Doesn't want to leave. And I know that I have to do some things. I try to walk a bit, but I'm not exercise fanatic. I don't really. You do what you have to do, and. I had a job working in a foundry. We're talking about foundries where they pour the iron, and my job was shoveling dirt for the molds. They had these cups that would go up, and they had these mounds of dirt, and I had to shovel the dirt into these cups. And I would do that for 10 hours a day when I was in high school, from 2 in the afternoon until midnight. And I think I developed my upper body, and so that's...
Never went away.
Yeah, I never really. But anything about me I know. I just.
Is this a toupee? I'm sure the internet wants to know.
A toupee? What? Because I've
Ain't nobody 78
say,
with that much hair, y'all.
Well, I have heard people say, and even my cousin.
Take it off. Come on, take it off.
I just, and actually I have 4 sons, and 3 are bald. I shouldn't say just bald, but I don't know a nicer word. And I tell them, I say, listen, man, it don't matter. But they, coming from me, it's like...
Smitty has a lot of hair, too. And he's in his 60s, late 60s, my dad.
Yeah, no, I don't, I never really... But I have one son who has hair. I mean, he's almost 60 and his hair is, so.
Yeah.
But no toupees. I don't really wear.
And the mustache is not fake, guys.
No, it's which is no. I don't. Whatever is there is there. I don't have any
enhancements.
Thankfully, as I've gotten older, I still got the original hips and knees, and I ain't never had none of that stuff. Everything's working pretty good.
Oh boy!
So the eyes are. Well, you must be wearing contacts. No, I'm
no
good.
Hearing aids.
No.
You're good.
I'm good.
You're in good health.
Yeah, no, I'm good. And I was seeing this thing about. It was a commercial that said, if you can't lay your hand flat on the table, I'm like, oh my God. People can't lay their hand, fingers all, like. So I don't want none of that. Thank you very much.
All right. That made me want to ask another question before I ask the last question. So, black men, oh, that was funny. Black men are, they're in trouble, right? So a lot of them are dying too soon. Do you have a message for the black men who are not taking their health seriously? You could talk to this camera right there. There's a public service announcement.
Oh, you brothers out there, you better listen up. That black don't crack. That's only on the outside. On the inside, that stuff be falling apart. No, I think you got to ask yourself what's important. I mean, we're all going to live. We all get one body. You don't get we don't get another. So is it important enough for you to want to, we know we're going to get old if you keep living. And how do you want to live? Do you want to be wheeled around in a wheelchair? Do you want to, not be able to walk up a flight of stairs? You want to still, be able to do what you want to do when it's time to do it. And there's a price to pay. There's consequences. You can do anything. It's just all about moderation. I don't think there's anything I don't do. There's some foods I don't eat just because I don't like it, but not because somebody says it's unhealthy.
Yeah.
But you just have to use this basic common sense. So, but as far as health, we don't know what's going on. I've had cancer twice. Prostate cancer when I was about 50. And then in 2011, I had rectal cancer, and I caught it early, but the doctor screwed up, and I almost died. In fact, I came very, very close to dying. Ooh. And I knew that I could die, and that's a whole different kind of reality. We're only here for a brief time, and so, for the sake of your family, I don't want my kids to have to, I don't have to be anybody else's responsibility. But we have to know that we're not these invincible. So we have to take on some kind of image, that we have to pretend that we ain't got to be all. Just take care of yourself, and only you can do that. The wife can tell you need to see a doctor, or the kids can hint. But at the end of the day, you got to love yourself enough. We don't love ourselves enough. We keep looking for somebody else to love us. I kept looking when I was younger for some woman to like me, And you got to get to a point where we love ourselves enough to take care of ourselves. As much as we try to take care of everybody, the kids, to be responsible. But do we love ourselves enough to take care of ourselves? Do we love ourselves? Because the love we carry with us, people say, how do you find oxygen at the bottom of the ocean? You have to bring it with you. You got to bring that love for you. Do you love yourself? And I think that's something we need to sit down and ask ourselves, because sometimes we're doing stuff and I'm like, no, man, no. I have to treat my wife a certain way. Because if I don't, not for her, I have to ask myself, what kind of human being am I to be this rude to this lady? I mean, how do I be in this relationship and not care? I mean, what am I? How do I love we just gotta love ourselves. And we can't keep waiting for white people to do it, or wives to do it, or kids to do it, because if waiting for somebody else, I was waiting for my kids to do it, I'd be I be waiting a long time because I'm like, I think you love me, but you sure ain't act like. We got to do it for ourselves. So love us, love yourself
I love it.
first.
Last question.
Yes.
It's the end. I know you're
Yes.
a God-fearing man. It's the end, and God says, you know, you're crossing over, you're transitioning, you're going to see God. What do you hope God say to you?
Was that well done, my good and faithful servant? That I don't know about what's on the other side. I don't know. People tell me about the Bible and it says this and that, and I hear all kinds of things. I believe in love. I've tried to be a loving person. I've tried to be, not tried to be, you are, you know, I look for the love. And I hope God appreciates that. Now I go to my hometown and I have some cousins who got their own churches. They're preachers and they try real hard to save my soul, and they get me hemmed up in the corner sometimes. I'm like, I got to get out of here. And I appreciate their intent, but I go, you know, it's not very loving. I was working with an actor. I was shooting a film here in Atlanta called Pastor Brown. And I was working with some actors, and they were talking about making some changes to this person's. Oh, I mentioned the script, right? I mentioned but anyway, I was working with some actors. I'll leave it at that. And they wanted to make some changes, and I was saying, but we should really talk to the person who wrote this and let them sort of be a part of this. And this one actor said, "Boy, I'm so sick of you and this love. Now, this person is actually a minister. Wow. I just said, oh, this love. And my cousin said the same thing. Oh, you're talking about his love. I'm talking about what the Lord said. So I'm going to stick with love. And I talk about loving yourself, loving each other. That's, at the end of the day, that's all we have. I think that's what it's about. Now, I might find out at that point when we all find out, maybe whatever, but I believe God is love. I believe that I believe love has brought us a mighty long way, and that's what we need to lean into with each other.
You think you've always led with love?
I've always tried to. As a little kid, I would go, you know, to love everybody. How do I love everybody? Is there anybody who I don't love? So I would really try to find, and I don't think there's anybody I don't love. Some people it's easier to love from a distance. I love you, but I'm going to love you long distance. But
I got some of those.
Yeah, no, I think I pray for that.
Yeah.
And to be able to see it, because love is there, but
yeah.
You gotta identify it, because all that clutter,
yeah,
all that hateful nonsense can kind of get
crazy.
in the way, and you gotta sort of.
It's been a pleasure.
I've enjoyed it. It's been
I've
fun.
enjoyed. I was thoroughly entertained, and I learned some things.
Oh.
So I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you for
too.
granting this interview. Please tell everyone where they can find you, or what's your next project?
My next project, I'm not sure.
I know you're in Sisters.
Yes, Sisters in Italy. I just finished filming. They're still filming, but I just finished filming for Tyler Perry. Directed it, and I think it's Amazon, but I'm not sure. Yeah. And Family Business. We're in our 5th season. We're about to start our 6th season. There's an animated horror film that I'm supposed to be doing called Oswald Down the Rabbit Hole. And Angry Birds, the new season just
really
came out. Yeah, that.
You're busy.
And, yeah,
you're booked and busy.
I've been I'm very, whatever God puts in. I have no designs or plan. I'm just sort of waiting to see what unfolds.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ernie Hudson, you are amazing. Thank you for aging gracefully and showing us what black men who lead with love looks like. So I appreciate it. All right, guys, what a great interview. If you like this type of content, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe. And of course, if you want to get in contact with us directly here at the Smitty and D Show, you guys can email us at info@smittyand.com. Again, that's info@smittyand.com. And until next time, guys, take care of one another.